Hi, I'm Carolyn Judge. I wanted to explain why I've no longer got my GoPro Hero 5 Black, but why I instead bought a Sony FDR-X3000. I got my GoPro Hero 5 Black predominantly to record motorbike rides. It's a scenario where you can't really take photographs of what you're seeing, and so often we'd ride past something and I'd think, oh, I would have loved a photo of that. But you just don't stop and take a photo on a motorbike, it's too much of a hassle. So having a camera permanently mounted on the bike is fantastic. You can take stills from it, so that was a great solution. And the Hero 5 Black worked really well in that scenario. It was mounted on my handlebars. I ride a Harley Davidson Road King. It's a pretty rumbly bike, but even with the vibration of the bike, it took really good stable footage. We had quite a crackle in our sound. I was using originally a single mic which was inside my helmet that went through an adapter, a GoPro adapter. Later I swapped to a dual mic so that I could pick up some motorbike exhaust sound as well, and that worked really well. The concept worked really well. When I would be talking, it would cut out the exhaust sound, and when I wasn't talking, it picked the exhaust sound up, so that was great. But the crackling was even worse with the dual mic. I experimented a lot, changing all the different audio sound combinations on the camera, and it made no difference. We experimented with wrapping the mic cables in tin foil because it sort of sounded like it was picking up some interference from the engine, and that actually helped, and so we got the cables professionally shielded, and then eventually we even wrapped the adapter in tin foil as well, and again it reduced the crackle, but it didn't solve the problem. And at that point we were planning a motorbike ride in Australia. We were going to ship our bikes from New Zealand to Australia for a 7-week riding trip over there on the east coast. So when we got to Australia, we were still having those crackling sound problems, just generally poor sound quality, but also we got a new sound problem over there, which were whole segments of filming that was done in a day where there was no sound at all. This was very frustrating. On the 22nd of July last year, we logged a call with GoPro to tell them that we'd really got to the end of our tether with these issues. We wanted them to resolve them for us. Their answer was to upgrade the firmware, which we did. Made no difference. By that stage, we'd been in Australia for 25 days, and 12 of those days had very poor audio or no audio at all. And that is so disappointing, because that GoPro camera was capturing our only memories of the trip, and to have had that level of failure it was very upsetting, especially because we'd invested so much time and money into the project at that point. You know, it's not just the cost of the camera, you have to buy the memory card, you have to buy the external storage drives. I bought Final Cut Pro to do all of my post-production work, and I even had to upgrade my MacBook Pro to get a much more gruntier PC, so quite a lot of money had been spent, lots of time wasted, very, very frustrated. So by this stage, nearly 50% of our filming time in Australia had been lost. The files that you make when you're recording from riding all day are huge files. You know, you can get 20 gigabytes of data in a day, and you tend to not keep the rubbish footage. You know, you look at it at night time, and if it's no sound, you just delete it, so those memories are gone. There's just no point storing huge volumes of data that's rubbish. One of the reasons why it was so frustrating to have all these sound failures is because of the effort that I was putting in as well. When we would arrive in a new town, I would research history about that place, find out all the points of interest. And when we were riding out of town that next day, sometimes we would ride around the town and I would commentate, to find at the end of the day that no sound got picked up was just so annoying and so upsetting, actually. When we were in Brisbane, we wondered whether the mic adapter was faulty, and so we replaced that and it made no difference. At this stage, we had asked GoPro to replace the camera, and they said that they would, but we had to either send it back to the store where we'd bought it from, which was in Auckland, New Zealand, and at that stage, as mentioned, we were in Australia, or that we were to send it back into GoPro. Either one wasn't really a workable solution for us. It was going to take too long, and we wouldn't get the replacement camera until we got to the end of our trip. And we explained that to GoPro, and they basically didn't care. You know, their brand is all about helping you make memories with their great GoPro Hero 5 Black. Well, they didn't help us make memories at all. You know, they really weren't helpful at all. Never apologised. That's so disappointing. But we did contact the store where we did originally buy the camera from, which was Noel Leeming's in Newmarket in Auckland. And they just said straight away, look, don't worry, when you get back here, we will refund in full that camera for you. So we thought, okay, well, knowing that, now that we've got that assurance, we'll buy a second Hero 5 Black at a Noel Leeming store, and at that point we were in Port Macquarie, so we bought a second camera. We upgraded the firmware, everything was set up the same way, and that camera failed as well. So it was nothing to do with any accessories, the way we were using the camera, any settings. It was the camera. It was the camera that was faulty. It was the Hero 5 Black that was faulty. Every Hero 5 Black was going to have the same problem. I had also figured out why we were getting segments of no sound at all. When we were in New Zealand and we were leaving home on our motorbikes, I would hit the record button on the camera and just leave it running for the whole ride, because the scenery changes quite quickly in New Zealand and it's also very beautiful, that I just wanted to capture the whole ride. But in Australia, pattern of failure was that when I hit the record button for the first time in the day, it would record with audio. I would turn the camera off, and then when I hit record the second time, it would fail. And it would fail until I changed the memory card and battery. So we were almost at the end of our trip before we figured all that out, and before we found that if I just hit record in the morning and left it recording all day, we wouldn't get these periods of no sound at all, that we would still get crackling, but we would get constant audio. It was just too late by then. And also, when you're riding all day, you don't want 6 hours of footage. The post-production is huge, and the data storage needed is just huge. It's not workable. You want a camera where you can edit on the run, and GoPro just couldn't do that. So we came back to Auckland, and we got our refund. We got a refund for both cameras, and I researched a replacement camera, and the Sony FDR-X3000 seemed to be the next best one on the market. I bought that, and I've been using it ever since. I'm doing this recording now with no mic, and it picks up good sound. With a mic, it picks up excellent sound. I've never had an audio problem with this camera. The video that it takes is just as good as the Hero 5 Black, and when it's mounted on the motorbike, it's just as stable. The colours are just as good. Everything's just as good. So in fact, I would say that the Sony is equally good, if not better, than the GoPro Hero 5 Black. The only thing I don't like about the Sony is the menu system. It's just not as intuitive as the GoPro Hero 5 Black was. But otherwise I'm very happy with the Sony. If you're having audio problems with your Hero 5 Black, I thoroughly recommend that you switch to a Sony. I don't regret doing it. The GoPro brand isn't as good as it used to be. In fact, there's even talk now of Sony buying GoPro out, which would be interesting. It would be great if they combined the X3000 capability with the Hero 5 Black usability. That would make for a really fantastic camera. Anyway, I just wanted to let you know that I'm really happy with the Sony. I've got no regrets. So, shame on you, GoPro. You never apologised, and when I told you what the reproducible total sound failure was, you didn't want to know. You didn't even ask us how to reproduce it. Maybe you already knew. Who knows?